I think we should give it up for Chaz. Just came back from Israel, yeshiva. Went for a month. And for Jack Berger, who just came back from the shower and is going back again. These guys did what we do on Shabbat, which means to sit. That's what yeshiva also means. And yeshiva comes from the word shev, just like Shabbat. And in Jewish teaching, sometimes it looks like you're going backwards, but you're really going forwards. It's like a catapult, you go back, to fly miles ahead. That's what Judaism is. Shabbat also is like that. You take a step back. That's how we dance. We take 3 steps forward. The Jewish dancing.
Can you show us? Like demonstrate?
No. You know what? I will. Come. I'll do it with you. No, it's too late. It's too late. We have to do it. Okay, you know what? We'll get the yeshiva boys to join. Come. Come, no, seriously, come. I'll show you what Jewish dancing. Okay. Do you want to join? You go on that side. Go on that side. Hold hands on this side. No.
What do you want me to do?
Hold hands. Yeah, hold hands. Yeah. Okay, you do 3 steps. 1, 2, 3. Then 1 back. And then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1 back.
Got it. Okay.
1, 2. Let's go. No, that's the drop the mic moment.
Thank you,
Wait, it doesn't work. It broke. No! Don't worry, it's a cheap mic.
That's a step back.
That's a step back for... So basically we take a step back to go 3 steps forward. And that's a lesson for life, that sometimes you actually need to take a step back in order to go forward. You can't only go forward. And you can never go forward alone, which is why when you said, do the dance for me, I couldn't. I wasn't saying no just because I was... it was a little ego thing, like someone's telling me what to do, so I'm going to do it. But whatever, there was a little bit of ego there. But then I overcame my ego, and then I asked the guys to come and join me, and we danced. So we did 3 forward, 1 back, 3 forward, 1 back. That's life. You're always moving forward. But you move forward, you have to take a step back. So Shabbat does that, Yeshiva does that, where you take a step back from work or whatever, and you get to learn, what books do we have? Like, what are Jewish books? Can I actually go to a Jewish library and understand what we have? Do I understand Hebrew even a little bit? There's a lot of history and literature. Do I know my history and literature? There's so much that yeshiva does. And there's also something called seminary for girls and whatever. Okay. It's nice if you go. I am advocating for it. Okay. But it's not, you don't have to. Okay, so... Actually, I wanted to speak about dating. I've already been speaking with Shira, our dating series, which has been amazing. Anyone here went? We got 8. Yeah, Chaz was there. So it was, yes, me, Eitan, Marla. Okay, so yeah, call everyone out, Adam. It was amazing. It was really special. And I'm speaking about this because we just had the 15th of Av, which is a big day in Jewish teaching. For, at least not anymore, but nowadays it's a day to pray for your spouse. It's like a special energy to pray for it. But it actually actively used to be a day, that and Yom Kippur, after Yom Kippur, where we would designate that the girls and the guys would go out and they'd go in the fields and they'd all get set up with each other, and it'll be a beautiful moment, and everyone will there'll be lots of shidduchim happening and everyone's screaming, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. It's a bit like going to... When Debbie was born, she's not. So when Debbie was born, my mind just goes. So it was a bit like when Debbie was born. We were in Israel, and she was born in Shari Tzedek, and where everyone's born, it's like or Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. People were giving birth all the time in the hospital. So when Debbie was born, it was like it's an amazing experience, by the way. Birth in Israel, it's another whole level. Anyway, so that's kind of what it, not for giving birth, not that quick, but for dating, on the 15th of Av, everyone was celebrating the shidduchim that was being made, and it was done very quickly, and it was very beautifully, and there's a lot of history behind it. Okay, outside of that tradition, it says that these were days that were very, very joyous for the Jewish people. The day after Yom Kippur, or the day of Yom Kippur itself, was a joyous day, even though people can't believe that. And the 15th of Av, 9th of Av, which is just happened last week, is this day of mourning where the temple was destroyed. And we mourn many sad things that happen in Jewish history, mainly the fact that the Jews have been dispersed around the world, and we pray every day, Uvnei Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh B'mehera V'yameinu. We say even when we eat food, we pray about Jerusalem. So the Jewish people have always been, way before any other religion, monotheistic religion has been existing, we have been screaming that we are connected to the land of Israel. That's a very big part of Jewish identity. Okay, so on this day of the 15th of Av, it was a very happy day. So how did they do it? It's very interesting. I know this is different, but it's something that you can learn. So everyone would dress in white. So it was a Laila Lavan kind of thing. And it says that, this is Rashi commentary, says that no one would own their own dress. So everyone was what we call nowadays a gemach. They would borrow. And there would be like this organization that would organize the whole thing. And everyone would wear the same dress, and it wasn't yours. It couldn't have been yours. All the girls would have to get the same dress. And that's how they would do this party. And what's the reason for that? Because there were some people that were poor. And they couldn't afford the clothing the same as other people. So if we would say everyone can wear their own thing and you come with whatever dress you want, what would happen? What do you think would happen? People will feel left out. Some people will be coming in with bling bling, diamonds all over their dress. And then some people will be coming with something plain, and everyone will be feeling like, oh, I'm not as nice as this person looks so, oh, I don't have the money. It would embarrass people. So what they decided was everyone have the same, in that way, not to embarrass someone. And there's something to learn about that also, which I'll speak about when it comes to dating and marriage as well. So why was this the celebration after we mourned the temple? So we cried about the temple being destroyed. Straight after, we celebrated the building of a home. We're crying the destruction of the temple, and then we're just celebrating the building of new homes. Does anyone know the correlation? What's the connection?
One home is being destroyed, the other one's being built.
A home being built is a temple. In Jewish teaching, sorry for tiring you. In Jewish teaching, I love you, brother. In Jewish teaching, a home that gets destroyed. I know people are tired and they're still here. In Jewish teaching, a temple that gets destroyed is a building, but the real temple is your house. Your home that you're going to build is considered in Jewish teaching holy. It's a temple. Now, why is a house like the temple? What happened? What did we do in the temple? Why is a house like a temple? Okay, it's special to you. Okay, that's one thing. What else makes a home like the temple that we had in Jerusalem? The holiest place for the Jewish people. It's a place for learning. Growing. Go on. What else do you do in a home? Love. The love of Hashem. You express the love of Hashem. Same kind of feeling is expressed between a man and his wife, a spouse. That's why it says in Shir Shirim, if you want to know or understand the connection between us to God, you have to understand the connection between a loving couple, a husband to his spouse. Isn't that amazing? So we are celebrating a home that's being built. A home was destroyed, another home is being built. We call it from sorrow to celebration. From the destruction of one home to the building of another. Okay? By the way, interesting enough, we had a few weeks ago a Nova survivor come. Did you remember that? Yeah. Does anyone remember his name? Guy Ben Shimon. So Guy Ben Shimon was saying how he was running away and everyone was like screaming, and you see in his video he's screaming Shema, really cool dude. He was amazing. And he was telling his story, how he was running in between the trees and the bullets were coming everywhere. And at some point, he managed to run for like 6-7 hours to the fields, and he escaped. And on the way, randomly, like one of the visions he saw was a cow giving birth, or a goat or something. What? Didn't he tell you that? It was a goat, whatever. So, what? Okay. I'm very, what's it called? Self-conscious. Anyway, so everyone laughs and I don't know why. I'm like, what? Or if someone's like yawning, I'm like, oh no, why am I? And then I ruin my own class. Anyway, so he said that the goat hit him. He was like, whoa, a birth? How often do you see an animal give birth, like randomly walking in the field? It's like pretty random. But it hit him. He's like, wow, that's a message from God. That's what he was saying. He felt like God was sending him a message. They're trying to destroy life, and I was watching bullets flying, human beings being killed, and all of a sudden the world just continues as if it's almost like a joke. An animal's giving birth, like life continues. And I think that's almost what we do. We are sad, but we're never sad and then we break. And you know that you're not allowed to mourn the passing of a relative for more than 7 days. And then if you pass 30 days, there's a certain level of mourning. It goes up to a year. For the 7 days of mourning, which is very strict. Then there's 30 days where we don't shave or whatever. Then there's a year where you don't listen to music. But within that period, there's, it dilutes it a little bit. But by the time your year is finished, you are not allowed to mourn anymore. And it says that if you mourn more than you need to, then bad energy is going to come onto you. That's going to be a reason to mourn more. So you better not mourn more. Once you pass that 7 days of Shiva, you're not allowed to mourn more than those 7 days. Then it goes into the 30-day period, which is a little different. You don't shave or whatever. But once you pass the 30 days, you're not allowed to mourn any more than you did in those 30 days. Yes?
And why is it in that year you're not supposed to have celebrations and joyous events, things like that?
Because at the end of the day, this is a relative that passed away, and there's certain things, a certain level of joy that we still need to have with us when we're within the year of that person passing. Okay, there's a certain level of joy that we reduce. We can't be non-realistic.
Right.
We can't say, the person passed, let's ignore it, and let's just get drunk and wash away our pain. That doesn't work. You have to feel the pain, but to its extent, to its limit, and never more than what's necessary. So, every year that the Jewish people mourn, we mourn the destruction, we mourn the losses that the Jewish people had, but straight after, we now move to building. Okay, now we mourned, now it's over, now let's move on, let's take what we have. We're not victims. Jews were never victims. They call us, all our enemies, they call us, victims, Jews are victims. Liars. We are the least people to be called. We survived the Holocaust and fought for our land in Israel. Fought for our survival in Israel. We survived the Holocaust and built families and succeeded everywhere we went. Yes, it's true, we don't forget our pain. We'll have Holocaust Memorial Day because we won't deny it. We'll have Tisha B'Av. But then we take that energy and we use it and we grow from it. We don't just sit in the pain and cry about it. We're not victims. We're the opposite of victims. We are the ultimate people that take our pain and use it for something better. That's our story. So if you look at Tisha B'Av, that's what it is. You're crying about the destruction of the temple. Now we say, okay, now we mourn the destruction. Now let's take life seriously. Let's build more. There's many people that get married that say, oh, things are problematic. Let me date someone. That's not enough. You didn't build a home. What we do is we went through pain. Then we say, okay, that was pain. Now let's grow from it. Let's build a home. They tried to stop us. We'll go build a home. Let's build more homes. And I'm talking about homes, real families. Real love. That's what we want to do. That's the way we build what's been destroyed. So we take the pain, then we take life seriously. I want to tell you something very interesting. By the way, another reason why the home is compared to the temple is because what do we do in the temple? What did they mostly do in the temple? Does anyone know? Sacrifices. What are you sacrificing in the relationship? Not the other person, right? What are you sacrificing?
Your individuality.
Yes. That's such a good... I didn't think of it titling it that way. But that's so good. That's so true. You're compromising. You're compromising. I would say in a relationship, your individuality needs to still exist. Like the other side needs to respect your individuality. But more of your individualism. The religion of just being me, that breaks. But your individuality should always exist, okay? That's a little changing of the wording, but do you get what I'm saying? It's not my idea. Rabbi Sachs used to say that there's a difference between individuality and individualism. Individualism is worshipping myself, becoming obsessed with myself, overly. Individuality is bringing out my speciality, which is fine. Okay, a relationship should allow, the spouse should allow you to bring out your best. But what you do is you do compromise to make the relationship work. There's a lot of compromising in a relationship. You can't get two people that get married and they were the same as they always were. That will never happen. You are never going to be the same when you marry someone because you have to compromise to bring them in. Make sense? Okay. So that's a sacrifice that we do in the temple. That's what the temple that we do in our house. We're sacrificing also. In fact, we're not just sacrificing other things, we're sacrificing our inner self. That's real growth. The home is the temple. That is the greatest temple of all. Okay, another thing is we're giving. We give to God, we give to each other. Giving is what makes a relationship. Okay, there's lots of things. Gratitude. You know, the temple was a place of gratitude. It was joy, gratitude, thankfulness. Gratitude needs to exist for a relationship to work. Why? What happens if you're not grateful in a relationship? Hi, welcome. Welcome back.
Just a little late.
No, never late in our house. Besides for me, I can be late. I cannot be late. Everyone else can be late. Anyway, what's gratitude? Huh? Gratitude, in the temple, we would bring offerings for thanks. There was like 4 main reasons why you'd bring an offering. If someone got sick, this is brought down even today. If someone got sick and got healed, you make hagomel. We did this on our Shabbaton with Dane, who had leukemia, and he survived. And he came on our Shabbaton. On Shabbat day, we called him up for the Torah. He never got called up for the Torah. And at the end of the Torah calling, he said, Hagomel l'chayavim tovot shegamlani kotov. Thank you, God, for being so kind and for doing such greatness to me and giving me all the good that I have, that I'm alive. So there's a special blessing we say called Hagomel. In the times of the temple, they would actually bring a gift, a mizmor letodah. They'll say a special prayer and they'll say thanks and they'll bring a gift to the temple to say thank you. So the temple was filled of gratitude. Why is gratitude so important in a relationship?
So you don't resent the person?
Yes. Why do you start resenting? I mean, when you first marry them, you're head over heels, right? You're like, right? Otherwise, why would you marry them? Why would you marry that person, right? Of course you were head over heels. You were going to smash your head in the wall in joy. Now you're going to smash your head in the wall in anger with the other person. So unbelievable how things twist around. So why does a relationship need gratitude to survive? So one of the reasons is, I'll tell you, is because if I am used to something, so I forget how I used to be without that person. So you get, at first, you're like, wow, I have the company, I have the joy of this person in my life, I have great company, didn't I just say that? I have great communication, I have, great time, support, joy, all these great things. But then what happens?
Take them for granted.
You take them for granted, you get used to them. So Mizmor LeTodah is such an important part of a relationship. If a person is married and never knows how to have gratitude, the marriage will not work. You have to, once in a while, just sit back and say, wow, I'm so lucky that I have the best person in my life. Wow, I'm so lucky. Not once in a while, you should do it every day. Wow, I'm so lucky that this person is talking to me and I have someone to talk to. I remember when it wasn't like that for me and I was alone in my own house and no one was there for me. You have to continuously be grateful. That's the temple. That was the temple. Your house is a temple. It trains you to do all these things, to sacrifice, to grow, to become more godly, to become more giving, to become more compromising, to become more grateful. It's a lot of work. But you are building a temple by being married. Marriage. That's what the relationship is. And I'm talking about also the relationship towards marriage. Someone who's working towards marriage. Also, you are now building a temple. This is a temple being built, brick by brick. Okay. It says that a relationship that has God in it, is a relationship that has the present is a special relationship. This is what Rabbi Akiva said. A ish, what's a ish? A man. And what's a isha? A woman. Good. We know we got the facts straight. Very good. Very good. Rabbi Akiva said, a man and a woman, if they merit, zachu shchina benehem. If they merit, then God's presence is with them. If they did not merit, they will become an esh or chaltanav, consuming fire. So what's esh in Hebrew? How do you spell it? Anyone know the Hebrew letters? Aleph, shin. What's ish in Hebrew? Aleph, yud, shin. It sounds like esh also, right? What's isha in Hebrew? Aleph, shin, hey, without the yud. So, good. Ish is Aleph, Yud, Shin, but it has Aish in it. Aish lit, right? Ish. A man has Aish in him. And a woman also, Isha, has Aish in her name also. The only difference is that the male has Yud and the female has Hey. What's Yud and Hey? God's name. Says the Talmud, a male and a female, if they merit to bring God into the relationship, then they are bringing God's name into their relationship. If they don't merit to bring God into the relationship, they are going to be a consuming fire. What do you mean? You should be leaving me alone. I need to go this way. You want to go that way, so go then. And I'll go this way. Don't talk to me, right? What happens? You're a consuming fire. Why? Because each person is thinking about themselves. So what's the goal? The goal is to bring God into the relationship so that we have two people and we are both compromising towards a higher goal. We're both working towards a higher goal. Okay? So, meaning to say, someone once sat here and asked us, I said this on our dating series, sorry if you heard this before, but it's good. Someone asked us, if you're in a relationship, who should be the captain of the ship? So, for some reason, the girl was telling us that the guy that she dated was telling her that he believes there needs to be one captain in a ship. Right? Not the best solution for staying with your date, right? I think he was done already. They must have been. Otherwise, why would you say such a thing? So he was saying there needs to be one captain of the ship. And she was saying, what do you mean? We're not a ship. Everyone's got their own individuality. I have my ideas, you have your ideas. We can't have just one captain. He was trying to say that the guy should be the one that's deciding or whatever. Maybe, I think. So what did I answer? I said, no, there should be a captain of a ship. Who is it? Hashem. I'm not the captain and you're not the captain. We both have a common goal. And we have to ask ourselves, is this the right thing that God wants us to do? A relationship that both sides are asking, what does God want me to do? What does Torah want me to do? Then that relationship is going to last. They're bringing God into them. They will merit. But a relationship that doesn't, each one just thinks about themselves. I'm just thinking about me, and you're thinking about me. So two me's make me. Okay. But there's no you in the relationship. And you need a you in the relationship for it to work. And how do you do that? You bring God into the relationship. So you're both compromising. Okay, listen to this. I want to tell you something else very interesting. A few interesting things. I mentioned this also in our dating series. There's a book that me and Shira were reading for helping other people with challenges. And it's really interesting. It's called Couples in Crisis by Professor Hershkowitz. Sounds Jewish. He's Jewish. It's a very Jewish book. So he says like this. His parents survived the Holocaust. Now, after the Holocaust, they got married. They were both previously married and they both previously had children. They lost everything. They survived the Holocaust and they got married. Do you think it was dating like we have dating today? Listen to this. So he asked his parents if they were in love when they got married. So guess what? So listen to this. The organization Aguda, they were desperate to help people, set people up, because the Jewish people lost half of our Jewish population. And they were like, we're an endangered species. Time to save the Jews, actually. Right? Not just the bees. So the Aguda convention got together and they said that we've got to help set up Jewish people. And they realized after the Holocaust, we've got to help set people up and get people married. So they did. They made this whole thing after the Shoah to help people get married. And they did a lot of setting people up. And people could not be in love the way we think because they just wanted to move forward. It wasn't about falling in love because I had something, I had my family, I had my spouse. It was a different type of dating. And it's a completely different perspective. These are the words. With a deep desire for a common goal, you actually can achieve love. So they went, and their goal was, the Nazis are trying to kill us, we need to continue. We need to build a family. We need to continue. That was their mindset. It wasn't a mindset of, what was their driving force? Survival continuity, right? What's the driving force of dating today? Pleasure, love. So he says like this, nowadays we try to get love first, then we try to achieve a common goal afterwards. But in that time, people were desiring a common goal first, and then they achieved love through it. And he said, did my parents love each other? Oh, yes, they did. And they had more children. They loved each other. But at first, the way they did it was the other way around. It was, we've got a common goal that we need to fix. And then we will make the love work as we go along. I'm not saying that we have to go into that mode, but it's an amazing shift in mindset that you can actually achieve love even if you didn't have it when you were dating. What's important is you have to achieve a common goal. And you know what? It's more important to achieve a common goal because you can have people that love romantically. They're like, whoa, right? They're all into each other. But that's just chemistry. Common goal? That guy's going that way and she's going that way. They ain't gonna, that relationship's not going nowhere. But there's chemistry. And you know what? That's, in a way, a facade. That's a fake image that's being portrayed in our mind that's going to build me a beautiful family. And in fact, actually, that's what builds rifts and arguments, differences in goals and future and thinking. That's what's going to build a rift, not build a relationship. Do you get what I'm saying? It's an amazing shift in perspective. It's okay to work to make sure you have a common goal before you make sure that you have chemistry. And actually, that's Jewish teaching. Jewish teaching actually says that we should make sure we have common goals before we get chemistry. It's okay. That's a good thing. Because chemistry blinds you. Okay. I'm not saying that they weren't attracted to each other, but they probably were. They probably looked to see if there's an attraction. But the mindset was very different. Okay. So, what's Tu B'Av? Tu B'Av is after the 9th of Av. Now, yes, you were there. So, on Tu B'Av is after the 9th of Av, when we think about all our past, and we're meant to be better. How can I be better? How can I love more Jews? How can I be a better person? How can I be a better Jew? We reflect. When else do we reflect? On Yom Kippur. Those are the 2 days, after those 2 days, when we're best for dating. Those are the days when we're best to go out. Because we feel inside that I'm a good person. And it's important to feel inside that I'm living life to my fullest. I'm a good person. I'm doing what I could. I'm trying to be better. so that when I actually go out with someone, I'm more attractive. It's not only about finding someone, find your Valentine. No, it's not about finding someone. It's about feeling someone so that you can find someone. That's what matters. You have to feel good, and be good. Become better. You get your spouse based on who you become. You get your spouse on how you are, not on how many dates you get and how many girls you can achieve, or how many guys you can get and how many. That's not how you get your spouse. That's not necessarily what's going to give you marriage. That just gives you people. So the idea of actually getting someone deeply and a real sense of marriage is becoming a greater person. I'm not saying, by the way, that we should wait till we're 90, work on ourselves forever, and then say, oh, now I'm better, but there is a beauty in self-reflection, feeling better within as a person, so that you portray a very good energy, which will attract some of the best energy as well to you. Yes?
Don't they say we have 7 soulmates?
Um,
According to Kabbalah,
I don't know.
the different levels of Judaism, as you level up, you attract different soulmates.
So yes, there is an idea that God is always putting people together, and there's times where we change, we go in different directions, and then God sets us up with a different soulmate. But there is something called Zivug Rishon, Zivug Sheni. There's 2. And but all this stuff of soulmates are beyond us. And what we really need to do is be realistic. I spoke about this in my dating series. I could speak more about it, but the whole idea of getting too deep into, is this my soulmate, is this not my soulmate, is a little dangerous, because we're not being realistic with my date. And we can get driven for the wrong reasons. So you have to really use logic when it comes to dating. Is this person in a common goal with me? Is this person, am I looking at their values? Is it about what they are more than what they can give me? Is it about, what am I attracted to? Am I attracted to them? Or am I attracted to their status? Or what they can do? These are the questions, logical questions that I need to be asking much more than my soulmate, because that's just like a spiritual dimension, an easy way out that people try and use. Is a little dangerous. Okay, I have a whole talk about that as well. But and there is obviously Kabbalistically a whole thing of soulmates, but that's good after you find your soulmate. We could talk about how great my soulmate is, but not before. Okay, so listen to this. So that's what Tu B'Av was. It's about celebrating dating in a time where I feel like I've become a much better person. And that's why dating was so much more successful. Interesting. And what's also was part of being a good person is making sure that no one else feels bad. So that's why they would borrow their dresses, and everyone would because I'm not going to date someone on the expense of other people or make other people feel uncomfortable. It's a big part of being a good person is caring about your surroundings. And that's one of the reasons why they would all dress white and make sure that I'm not taking something which is much better than someone else's and make them feel uncomfortable. There's a big part of dating is to be a successful person in dating is to be someone that cares a lot about your surroundings. That's an image that's important. It's a value that's important to see in the person you date. Okay. I'm going to tell you some stories and we'll finish. So, dating with a greater goal pushes aside differences that are irrelevant. When someone dates with the right mindset, which is, I'm becoming a better person and I want to build a temple, you push away all the nitty-gritty ideas that you have in your head of what you need in your date. Oh my gosh, they have this problem in their hair, or, okay, fine. They're much taller than I expected, or much shorter than I expected. These are things that we can give up if we are really focused for the right reasons when it comes to dating. So I want to tell you an amazing story. So there's this, and it relates more to the religious community, but it's amazing. So there's this great rabbi, Rab Pesach Krohn, who actually wrote a book called Sorrow to Celebration just recently. He's been writing books for forever. Stories, and he collects many, many stories. He's called the Maggid. So in 2006, he was at a convention for women, and that's my baby. And he spoke about marrying a girl that's older than the guy. So sometimes there's like a taboo. How can the guy be much younger than the girl. And in the religious community especially, it's like a real like taboo. I mean, I'm talking about even 3-4 years difference. In the religious community, they'll be like, no. The guy has to be older. Like he's 23 and she's 26 now. So he spoke about, no, it's okay to have your mind open. And that it's okay to marry someone who's older than you. A girl that's older than you. So, and he actually told a story of a great rabbi, Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, who lived between 1808 and 1888. Listen to this story. And he married a woman called Hannah Judel. And he was 22. How old was she? 26. And she was older than him. And the rabbi spoke about this idea that he took her. Why? Because he didn't care. His goal was to move and make a difference in the world. And he was actually the chief rabbi of Moravia. Moravia, or whatever. He was originally the member of parliament of Austro-Hungarian Empire. Listen to this. He had 50,000 Jews that were under him. And he decided he needs to go to Frankfurt, Germany, to help teach his teachings where Judaism is really getting lost in Germany. And he moved to Frankfurt with only 12 families, and he wrote many books. And eventually he grew a great community known as Adas Yeshurun, which is an Orthodox community in America everywhere. You see these synagogues everywhere. He was a big part, and still is a big part of Jewish Jewry today. He's got many books that came out, and they have phenomenal interpretations of the Torah. And basically like this. So this rabbi was saying, Rabbi Pesach Krohn was giving over convention to women, and he was saying it's okay, look at our Jewish history, it's okay to marry someone that's older than you. And a few weeks later, this rabbi, Pesach Krohn, gets a call. And he gets a call. The lady on the phone says, I want to thank you for setting up my son. So he's like, what? I write books, I write stories, but I don't set people up. So he said, no, you set up my son on a shidduch, and he's engaged. And so he asked, what do you mean? I don't set people up. So she says like this, after your speech, we got suggested this girl, again, that we were already suggested in the past by a matcher. What's it called? A matchmaker. We were suggested someone, and this girl, we already got mentioned, but then they said to us that the girl is actually a direct descendant of that great rabbi, Rav Shimshon Raphael Hirsch. She's a great descendant of this rabbi. So it was like a wake-up call. You spoke about it, then this girl, they called and they told us that the girl who's older is a direct descendant. So he was like, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So beautiful. Okay. A year later, Rabbi Krohn, 15th of Av comes, this time of the year, 15th of Av comes, that Rabbi Krohn, is doing a tour in Frankfurt with a group. And he gets told, oh, by the way, there's a wedding happening tonight. It's happening in New Jersey. And do you know who's getting married? This couple. This couple is getting married where the girl is the child. The girl is a little older and the guy was a little younger, and they got married just because of your speech. They got engaged just because of your speech. So Rabbi Krohn was giving the tour and he hears that. And eventually they end up at the grave of Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch. And Rabbi Krohn, on the tour, he tells the group, guys, I want to tell you something. Last year, I spoke about how important it is that you should be open-minded when dating. And you should be okay with marrying, dating someone who's older than you. It's okay. So, after that, he mentioned that. He gets a call. And he tells them, and tonight is the wedding of this couple that heard about my speech. And they took me seriously. And they went out. So everyone was like, wow, that's unbelievable. They started dancing around the grave. This Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch's grave. They start dancing around and they take videos and they send it to the couple that just got married because of his speech. And they say, look, Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, that's the rabbi we spoke about who married someone who was older. You took us seriously and you married someone older and you were open to it. And now you got married. So they sent the video. The video went to the family and they added it to their wedding video. Now the story doesn't end. They added it to the end of the wedding video. Then, the next year, that couple had a baby. And they call up Rabbi Pesach Krohn. He's a mohel. He's the guy that does snip. He does the bris. So they called him up. And they said to him, we want you to be the mohel to do the circumcision of this baby. And he comes, he does it, and guess what they called the baby? Shimshon Raphael. He's a great descendant of Rabbi Hirsch. And that couple got married only because they were agreeing to be open-minded to marry someone that's older. Okay, and that's an amazing story that happened. Okay, there are many stories like this. I could tell you a bunch of stories. I'm going to tell you one more story. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Another amazing story about the idea of dating in the right way, with an open mind and understanding that not everything is in our hands when it comes to dating and finding. When I'm not talking about just dating, I'm talking about finding your soulmate. Okay? Which you can only find out she's your soulmate if you marry her or him. So it says in the Talmud that getting married, finding a spouse is like the splitting of the sea. It's a miracle like the splitting of the sea. It doesn't just say it's a miracle. It says it's difficult to God like the splitting of the sea. Why is it difficult? Is there anything that's difficult for God? Was it hard for God to split the sea? No. But what it means is that God went against the laws of nature. The sea has to go like this. The sun has to rise at this time. It goes down at that time. For the nature to go against its own course, that was a miracle. And that's what's called difficult. For God to go against nature is very difficult for him. Not that it's hard, but it's difficult because he wants the world to go in its natural course. It says that dating is the same thing. Finding your marriage and spouse is the same as splitting of the sea. It's against nature. Listen to this story. There's a lady by the name Joanne Ness from California. She was a nutritionist and she started keeping Shabbat. She got involved and started keeping Shabbat. And she lived in Venice, California. In May 1986, this is an old story, but it's brilliant. In the year May 1986, she went to a conference. She was asked to speak in Pennsylvania. And she spoke at this conference. She was a great nutritionist. And they asked her to speak. But she realized, when is it going to finish? Just before Shabbat. Thursday night, she needs to be speaking. And the next flight she can get is on Friday. And she knew that Friday is not just a regular Shabbat. It's going to be Shavuot. So it's going to be a Jewish holiday after the Shabbat. So it's 3 days of Shabbat. She needs to get back to LA. So she organizes the whole thing. She makes sure she can get a ticket. And she goes. She gets there, and before she gets on the trip, she says, I need to take this book that I'm reading. It's called a book. The book was called From Generation to Generation by Rabbi Dr. Twersky. I don't know if you've seen any of his videos on YouTube. Unbelievable. Search Rabbi Twersky after this. His videos are incredible. He was a doctor and an amazing thinker. And a rabbi. So he wrote a book called From Generation to Generation. And she was busy reading it. She took it on her flight. And she was excited to read this book. Anyway, she does the conference. Everything goes well. Friday morning, there's extreme fog. Flights are cancelled. And she's like, what am I going to do? Oh no, I'm going to miss my connection. Everything's going to be a mess. She finds another flight going from Pittsburgh, from Pennsylvania to Pittsburgh, and from Pittsburgh to LA. She sees that she could take a flight to Pittsburgh at 2. She could take a flight at 2 from Pittsburgh to LA. And she manages to take a later flight, book a later flight from Pennsylvania to Pittsburgh. And she flies to Pittsburgh. But the Pittsburgh flight from Pittsburgh to LA is cancelled. There was a technical difficulty on the plane. That flight was cancelled, malfunction. And she realizes there's no way she can now book another flight. She needs to stay in Pittsburgh for Shabbat. So what does she do? She thinks, who do I know here? I know no one. And then she says to herself, Rabbi Twersky, the writer of this book, lives in Pittsburgh. He writes it. So she opens the back of the book. She finds a number. She says, I'm going to call him. And he doesn't answer. She finds an address. She says, I'm going to go to the address. Listen to this. I don't know what age litter this was. So she goes to the address. And then she realizes it's not just any address. It's a hospital. He's a big doctor there. And I forgot, I wrote down the name. St. Francis Hospital in Pittsburgh. And she goes in, she asks for Rabbi Twersky. They say he's not here. She meets his son, Dr. Ben Zion Twersky, and he says, no problem, I got you covered. He organizes no time. She's staying at a family called Family Sachs. So you've got Joanne Ness staying at Family Sachs. And guess what? While she's there, Rabbi Twersky hears about her, the Rabbi Abraham Twersky, the father, and he invites her for one of the day meals. So she's coming for a meal. Guess what's going to happen? Yeah, wait, not the son. So she goes to the meal.
Spoilers?
No problem. It's still good. Even with the spoilers, it's that good. So she gets invited for lunch with Rabbi Twersky, Rabbi Abraham Twersky, and there was a name, Mr. Brad. Brad Perlman. And he was a close student of Rabbi Twersky, and he was also coming closer to Judaism. And they sat next to each other, and at some point, the dude did what's right. He asked her out. And 2 months later, they got engaged. Wait, but listen to this. It doesn't end there. Wait. Brad realizes that he was the one, when the story comes out, he realizes that he was the one that went to the Rabbi Twersky and told him, you have an amazing family. You have such history. Rabbi Twersky comes from generations of rabbis. You have such an amazing story. You must write about all of your generations. And Rabbi Twersky did. He wrote a book called From Generation to Generation by Rabbi Abraham Twersky. And that was the book that Joanne Ness, who now eventually became Chana, and Brad came Shlomo, Perlman, that they got married thanks to the rabbi that published their book. How crazy is that story, huh? No spoilers alert. One more story. This is called The Marriage Made in Heaven. Listen to this. Reb Chaim Kanievsky, a great, great rabbi, passed away just recently in March 2022 at the age of 94, 96. I'm not sure, I don't remember. A great rabbi, the greatest rabbi of our generation. And a 50-year-old man came in and said to the rabbi, Rabbi, bless me. Reb Chaim Kanievsky never says a word extra. He just says, Bua. Do you know what Bua means? They made a song. Bua, Bua, Bua. They made a song about this. It means, it's an abbreviation, Bet Vav Hey, which stands for Bracha Vehatzlacha, blessings and success. He never said a word extra because every word he said, he counted for. He never said an extra. He's always learning. You come to him and he answers you very short and then he carries on. Can you give me a blessing? Bua. And people would wait for hours for the blessing. He'll give one word, Bua. So listen to this. A 50-year-old man came for a blessing. And he said, Rabbi, I've been dating and dating and dating. I have not found my spouse. I've never found my spouse. So Reb Chaim says, no, he doesn't say Bua. He looks up and he says, maybe, Ulai hi od lo nolda. Maybe she's not been born yet. And he's like, oh my gosh, I'm 52 years old. This is weird. So he goes out and he's like completely disturbed. A few months later, he dates a convert, a Gioret. And the Talmud says in Yevamot, in 22a, listen to what the Talmud says. The Talmud says, Kol ha-mitgayer ki'ilu nolad dami. Someone who converts is like they're reborn. They got a new life again. They go in the mikvah. The mikvah is like the womb. You get reborn. Someone who converts, take on Judaism, you're another person again. You took on all the mitzvot, you're the new life. So he came back to Reb Chaim Kanievsky and he told him, Rabbi, after you gave me that blessing, after you told me maybe she's not been born yet, I found my girl and it was a Gioret. And Reb Chaim said to this man, you know, as I said those words, I also thought that that's what it meant. I also thought maybe you can translate, when I said, maybe she's not been born yet, I was thinking, maybe you could translate my words as it's a convert. And you know what? Reb Chaim Kanievsky was so great, whatever he said was so sincere that he used to attribute to himself. People used to say to him, wow, you gave me a blessing. He says, no, it's not my blessing. It's the words of God. Whatever he said, it was inspired by God. and it was real. So that was his story, and he used to always say many things he said. I've got another story about dating with Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Wow. But this is for another time. But my point is that a lot of dating has to do, and finding your spouse has to do with miracles. We're going to do our part. And we're not going to go too crazy about finding that other person. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to put in my effort, but I'm not going to go too crazy. In fact, the effort that we put in is by saying, I am becoming a better person. Maybe that person's not ready for me yet. Maybe that person's not been born yet. Maybe whatever it is. But I'm not going to put in too much effort, because when I do, I stress. I'm not attractive. I'm not good to myself. I'm not good to anybody else. And the best way to deal with this is to go in this direction, which is to have a lot of faith and emunah, and to understand that the person you marry one day is a miracle. And it will be a miracle. And it will be a soulmate, but only after. You can't know if it's a soulmate before. And if you start saying, it's my soulmate before, I think, like the last time we did a dating series, someone told me, Gal Gadot is my soulmate. I said, how can she be your soulmate? She's married with 3 kids. What do you mean she's my soulmate? What does that even mean? You're attracted to her. I'll tell you what it means. You watched so many of her movies that eventually you said, wow, you dreamed of her. And then you said, soulmate. No, control yourself. She's married. And you go and find your real soulmate. You can't know your soulmate till after you marry them, but you can be logical. You can be logical with your desires, with your thinking, and you will. And you have to also be calm and have emunah that God is the one that really puts us together and finds us the soulmate that we really should be having. Okay? Thank you for listening. And happy Tu B'Av. Thank you.